Hello! Well, we're up to Chapter 16 of the Curatage Ghost. Within a few weeks, Max had acclimatised to his new century. Grandad had driven him around a bit, he'd had a haircut, bought some trousers that fitted, played a few games of drafts with Yaya, for one, discovered television, and then, even better, discovered football. Grandad was, of course, thrilled. Grandma Judy was livid. And, well, everyone else was just a teeny bit disappointed. Max had also discovered bottled beer, specifically Speckled Hen. This particular Saturday, he was slumped in front of a rather uninspiring football match with 4 empties already on the floor and shouting at the TV. Judy came in and shook her head. There was no getting away from it. Sir Max was a slob. And he was bringing out the worst in Grandad. Something clearly needed to be done. She shouted at him, "Look, if I'm to have a ghost living in my house, there are going to have to be some rules around here." He didn't seem to be taking much notice, so she picked up the remote and switched off the TV. He turned to her with a somewhat petulant pout. Folding her arms and eyeing him defiantly, she continued, "Look, Max, it's clear to me that you have never been married, and from what I have seen, never done an honest day's work in your previous life. You're a dreamer, an idler, and a drunkard. This is your second chance at a good life, and it's time you pulled your finger out. So if you are to continue to stay under my roof, you have to live by these rules. I have written them down for you." She thrust a sheet of paper into a rather befuddled Max's hand. The paper read, "Curatage House Rules for Displaced Ghosts. 1. Ghosts must be out of bed by 9 o'clock and make their own bed. 2. No burping, farting, or nose-picking at the dining table. 3. Ghosts must clean up their own mess. For example, coffee cups, empty beer bottles, etc. 4. Ghosts are expected to do their fair share of household chores, such as washing up, stacking the dishwasher, vacuuming, making coffee, and, with training, cooking. 5. Ghosts should help with the gardening. 6. Ghosts can have their own TV in their bedroom and are not to hog the downstairs set. 7. Ghosts are only allowed beer on special occasions and on Saturdays. 8. Ghosts, even those who think they should be King of England, will not expect to be waited on hand and foot by the lady of the house. 9. Ghosts must not lead Grandad astray. 10. Ghosts must play regular games with the grandchildren. If these rules are generally followed, then the aforesaid ghost will be permitted to haunt for an indefinite period. If not, the ghost will be evicted or exorcised." Max tried to take all of this in. It was an assault on his ghosthood. He was affronted, disturbed, and, with a significant amount of speckled hen on board, somewhat discombobulated. He came out with a few choice 16th century oaths that needed no translation. Pardon me. Judy snatched the paper back and wrote, 11. Ghosts who swear will have their beer ration discontinued until a satisfactory apology is obtained. Thrusting the paper back, she picked up the sole remaining full bottle of beer and stormed out, slamming the door. Sir Max was dumbstruck. He stared balefully out of the French windows. Grandad came in, clutching a large book. Hey-ho, Max. Here the Memsahib turned the hose on, eh? Well, she's probably got a point, you know. You are a unique sort of fella, and perhaps we should be doing more to help you find your niche or whatever. Anyway, look, this chap, Shakespeare, about 60 years after your time, wrote a few jolly good stories. I put the bookmark in the last one about Richard III. One of yours, I think. Last of the Yorkists. Killed at Bosworth. It's a bit of a Tudor take on it, but I thought it might remind you of some of the old times. Max, in his discomforted, slightly woozy state, was not sure that he wanted any reminding of those old times, but he accepted the book and continued to stare out of the window. After a while, Grandad took the hint and left him alone. His ghostly metabolism cleared away the alcohol. A feeling, well, almost of guilt came over him. Must do better, he thought to himself. But do what better? For the life of them, or could that be for the death of him? He could not at the moment articulate a plan for his future. After all, what was he? A body recreated by mechanisms unknown, whose purpose, if that it was in a past long ago. Now he was in a future unfamiliar, but with sufficient similarity that he had found adjustment easier in some ways and harder in others. The old certainties were gone. Religion in England seemed to have vanished. Part of him thought that not necessarily a bad thing. It was the priests who had been most horrible to him. But without religion, where was the comfort of a desirable afterlife? Mind you, on reflection, that had not helped him at all. Well, so far, at least. But he was chronically anxious, perpetually suppressing very painful memories. Alcohol helped, but without it he was trembly, fearful, and, not to put too fine a point on it, in a continual tizzy. Grandad, old doc that he was, had already made a 21st century diagnosis. He said to Judy, "I don't think we should be too hard on the young fella. In fact, I wonder if we should get him some help." "Some help? Why? What are you thinking?" "Well, I think that he's suffering from a ghostly form of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I mean, think about it. The last thing he remembers is being burned to death after seeing his beloved Catherine starved or choked. Before that, he'd been racked in the Tower, incarcerated in the oubliette of Corfe Castle, and all the time knowing that the cause of his whole life was lost. You know, could you imagine a more horrible few years?" Put like that, she couldn't. Tears welled up in both of their eyes. In the sitting room, Max picked up the book and began to read. The Tragedy of King Richard III. Richard Gloucester. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. End of chapter 16. Bye.